We're going to call it Grand Rapids Town Board meeting, April 13th, 2021, 6 p.m. To order. First, before we start the agenda items, we have 3 public hearings. First one is for Nicole McKeever, conditional use permit for a self-serve flower kiosk roadside stand located at 1511 48th Street South. Anybody wishing to speak for? Raise your hand or...
Is the applicant here?
Yeah. Anybody wishing to speak for? Third and final time. Anybody wishing to speak for? Anybody wishing to speak against? Second. Anyone wishing to speak against? Third notice. Anybody wishing to speak against? Okay, we'll call that public hearing closed. All right, second public hearing is for Eric Heeg. I think I pronounced that right. Haig? Sorry. Conditional use permit for a pond located at 910 64th Street North. Anybody wishing to speak for? Anybody wishing to speak for? Third time. Anybody wishing to speak for? Okay. Anybody wishing to speak against? Anybody wishing to speak against? Third and final. Anybody wishing to speak against? Okay, we are going to close that public hearing. We will go to number 3. Greg McDonald, conditional use permit to operate McDonald Trucking with maintenance on equipment located at 3921 Washington Street. Anybody wishing to speak for? Second. Anybody wishing to speak for? Third. Anybody wishing to speak for? Anybody wishing to speak against? Anybody wishing to speak against? Third and final time. Anybody wishing to speak against? Okay, we will call that public hearing closed. If the rest of the night goes that fast, we will be out of here in a half an hour. All right. So now we will start our regular agenda items. First thing on the agenda, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance. So we do have the flag over there. Patty, can you start us out?
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item number 2 is to approve the agenda for the meeting. Good. Okay. Number 3, approve minutes for the March 9th, 2000.
February.
No,
No?
March. It's April, right?
Oh.
March 9th, 2021 Town Board meeting. Get a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion by Bill Clendenning, second by Patty Lumby. All in favor say aye.
aye.
I'm an aye. Opposed? Okay. All right, public comment. People wishing to address the board will be limited to 2 minutes each, with public comment limited to 30 minutes. All right, we're going to do this a little bit different tonight, okay? So what we're going to do is, if you want to speak on anything on the agenda other than number Number 14, the ATV. We're going to take public comments for that once we get to it. We're going to open it back up to that. We're going to have the same rules. 2 minutes. It isn't a discussion. One thing I am going to ask right now, and I'll repeat again, that we be courteous, polite. The person talking, they have up to 2 minutes to talk. At the end of it, we'll move on to the next person. There should be no other conversation during that time. Okay, and we're going to hold everybody to the same rules. Just be respectful, be polite. This is, and we'll go from there. So anybody wishing to speak on the other agenda items other than number 14, please raise your hand. All right. Well, that tells me why you're all here. Okay. We will move on. Monthly reports from departments, and we are going to start with our Fire Chief, Bob Pyatt.
Good evening, residents, board. We're currently staffed with 51 fire and EMS members, 5 non-structural, 6 EMS only, with a total of 21 members trained to do EMS. We're always looking for motivated individuals for fire and EMS. If you're ever interested, stop by the station or give me a call. Calls for service. Since the last board meeting, we've responded to 39 calls for service, consisting of the following. We had 23 911 medicals, and we had 16 calls for service on the fire side. That's the breakdown on the fire end of it. There was 8 calls in Grand Rapids, 7 calls in Saratoga, 1 in Grant, and 1 mutual aid in Saratoga, Nakusa. That consisted of 1 structure alarm, 7 wildland brush calls, 2 motor vehicle accidents, mutual aid with Nakusa Fire in our mutual aid area. We had 1 motor vehicle fire, 3 carbon monoxide calls, and a lift assist. Last month, our training consisted of EMS was orientation on United's new ambulance. And then we also went over a bunch of licensing issues that are coming up with the state. Last month for fire, we trained on our new fire engine that's sitting out front. We held 1 department meeting, 1 officer meeting, and 6 training meetings. Public relations, our smoke detector program that's been on hold with COVID-19 will actually be resuming next week. The Red Cross is going to let us continue with that. We've sold 4 more address signs this last month. As far as the safety department, there's no injuries to report, but the town crew, Rick, Mike, and Jake all went to the Wisconsin DOT flagging school, and I have their certificates of completion for that. So, any questions from the board?
I don't have a question, but I ended up reading a fire magazine, and Mike's article was in there. Did you happen to see that?
Yes, I did. Yep. Yeah, one of our firefighters was mentioned in the Wisconsin Fire Journal.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, it was a very nice article.
Very nice article.
So, anything else?
Thanks, Bob.
All right.
Next will be Police Chief Pedersen.
Good evening, everyone. For the month of March, the Grand Rapids Police Department handled 334 calls for service, and that compared to 337 calls for service during March of last year, a difference of 3 calls, 0.8% decrease in calls. And attached, the board members have a breakdown of those calls for service. For the first 3 months of 2021, the Grand Rapids Police Department handled 866 calls for service, and that's compared to 981 for the same period in 2020. That's about 11.7% decrease in calls, and the majority of that decrease can be attributed to COVID-19. The police department issued 36 traffic citations, 4 municipal ordinance citations, and 39 written warnings for the month of March. On March 2nd, Administrative Assistant Jewel Netterman and I attended a Redacting Records in Wisconsin, What Can and Cannot Be Released. It was a 2-hour live webinar that covered information that must be redacted from records according to Wisconsin public record laws. And that training was provided by PRI Management Group out of Coral Gables, Florida. On March 17th, I attended a Public Records for Law Enforcement webinar. This again was a 2-hour presentation that covered special concerns for law enforcement, centered on personnel records, body camera, dash cameras, notes, text messages, and emails as it related to the Wisconsin public records laws. Training was provided by the Wisconsin Department of Justice, Assistant AG Bensky. On March 18th, the Grand Rapids Police and Fire Commission met to conduct interviews for applicants for a new round of part-time officer hires. 2 candidates have been selected and will be continuing with the hiring process. On March 19th, I attended the 2021 Spring Legislative Breakfast held at the Bullseye Country Club. It was a great opportunity to hear from our state legislatures, local community leaders, and other government officials regarding topics affecting our local community. The event was sponsored by the Heart of Wisconsin Chamber of Commerce. Vehicles in the department are doing well outside of normal maintenance. And if you ever have any concerns or questions or just want to stop by, my office is always open and you can stop by and see us. Chairman Nystrom, do you want to announce the
funding or what?
Safewise?
Oh, yeah. If some of you folks may know, Safewise Communities looks at the state statistics every year. I think in 2019, we were #1 in the state for the safest community. This year, we slipped, I believe, 7th place, but it's still, we're in the top 20. The 6 years that they've done it, we've been in the top 20 safest in the area. So I want to thank everybody for watching their neighbors' parcels that you do. Thank you.
Okay.
I have comment. From the report that you'd given us, Chief, I just want to make a notation that in regards to the safest, in this month of March, there were no burglaries reported, no computer crimes, no criminal damage, no mental and alcohol problems, and no ordinance violations. So that just goes to show and reimburse, or just reinstates about how safe our community is. And 32% of the numbers that were reported were due to traffic violations. So I just wanted to make a comment about that. I thought that was a good month that we had.
Okay, anybody else have anything for Chief? All right, we'll move on. Treasurer, do we have any cash?
Yes, we do. Good evening. For the month of March, current month receipts were $78,279. Current month disbursements were $205,505. Cash on hand at the end of the month was $1,476,322, with $105,602 in checking, $1,071,869 in the repo account, and $325,439 in the money market account. Any questions?
I just have one comment to add to Amy's treasurer's report, because it's dollars and cents. Town of Grand Rapids is set to receive monies from the most recent government slush fund give out. Town of Grand Rapids is going to receive $733,000 for infrastructure and COVID-related expenses. It's a lot of money. There's a lot of things that this town board is going to have to look at. How do we best utilize the windfall of this funds? Because if we don't use it, it goes back. No, Art, you can't have it.
No new cameras, Art.
And I would just note that last I saw, the final numbers are still being calculated,
Yeah.
but it is looking like it'll be somewhere around that range. And it's Department of Treasury that we're waiting for some guidance on as to what exactly makes up the infrastructure related expenditures. So that's still something that's being waited on, but there is a substantial amount of money that this community will receive.
Roads have got to be there.
I don't know.
Not, there is no final answer yet, I don't think, to that.
Roads.
Roads. Is roads included in being
I-
able to spend is the question.
I know the Towns Association and League of Wisconsin Municipalities has been a real advocate for communities to get roads included there. I don't believe there has been an answer yet
Okay.
as to whether that's going to be included, but it will help a lot of communities
Boy.
if it is.
Okay, that's some good news. Should we end there for the night, folks? Okay, I said. All right, we are going to move on to number 6. And consideration and possible action for a temporary Class B liquor license for the Bluegrass at the Lake, June 10th to the 12th, 2021. Is there a motion?
There's
Just
someone here?
a note, before you make a motion, I have not received the certificate yet, so please make that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's actually for the.
No, that's for number
No,
9.
number 9.
Okay,
Yeah, that's a walk.
I just make that contingent
Yeah.
on it, so, okay.
So did the Lions Club
This-
submit?
This one, we're good.
Yeah,
can
this
be
one,
approved.
everything was submitted.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Bill,
I'll second.
Amber, second by Amber. Okay, discussion? Anybody have any questions? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Okay, number 7. Consider and possible action on the water event permit for the aqua skiers to close Lake Wazeecha for the state water ski tournament, July 14th through the 18th, 2021.
Chairman, I'll make that motion.
Motion by Chairman Nystrom. Second by Amber. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No opposed. Number 8. Consider and possible action on temporary Class B liquor license for the State Water Ski Show Tournament, July 14th through the 18th, 2021.
Also moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, motion by Bill Condenning,
I'll second.
second by Patty.
Mr. Chair, which one of these is one that we're waiting for the certificate?
The next one.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions, anybody?
I just wanted to verify there was insurance for this one here. Was it needed?
Not for the liquor license,
Not
no.
for the liquor license? Okay, thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm an aye. No opposed? No opposed. All right, number 9. This is for consideration and possible action of an event permit for the Walk of Life First Choice Pregnancy Resource Center, May 8th, 2021. I can make,
Who's the applicant on this?
This is the First Choice Pregnancy Resource Center.
Is there anybody present here from that?
No.
I will make a motion to approve that permit contingent on, 1, we get a map, and 2, that we get a proof of insurance document.
I can second.
Second by Patty. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, number 9.
Turn page.
Nice. All right, consider impossible action on resolution 2021-04. Primary resolution for discontinuance of undeveloped portion of Acacia, is that right? Avenue, Town of Grand Rapids, Wood County, Wisconsin. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2021-4.
Okay. Motion by Bill, second?
I'll second.
Second by Amber. Any discussion or anything on this?
I do just have a comment, just to remind everybody that this is a preliminary resolution. What we're doing here is setting in motion the procedure that will include a public hearing. So we will receive comments before any final decision is made. So today's action is just setting in force the motion.
Thank you.
Okay. That being said, do we have a motion? We have a motion,
Yeah,
a
motion
second?
and a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Keep rolling there. Okay. Number 11, consider impossible action on resolution 2021-05, Nicole McKeever, conditional use permit for a self-serve flower kiosk roadside stand located at 1511 48th Street South.
I can make a motion to approve resolution 2021-05 for the kiosk.
Okay, motion by Patty,
Second.
second by Arnie. Discussion?
I just want to make a note that at the Public Plan Commission meeting last night, all the members were happy to have this go through.
Can I just add one other comment? My understanding from the meeting yesterday is that the applicant will be working with the zoning administrator on the signage.
Correct.
To make sure that that is in compliance with our ordinance.
Yep.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You got it. Number 12. Consider impossible action on resolution 2021-6, Eric Haig, sorry. Conditional use permit for a pond located at 910 64th Street North. We got a motion.
I will make that motion to approve resolution 2021-06 for the conditional use permit for a pond located at 910 64th Street North at parcel number 0700 204A.
I will second that motion.
All right. Any discussion?
I have one.
All right.
Mr. Heeg, is that, who is the contractor to do this? Is he local?
What's that?
The contractor to do the project?
Going down here.
All right, I just wanted to know that because I know that Bowen knows all of our rules and I wanted to be sure it wasn't somebody else. Not that they couldn't do it, but they'd have to learn our rules.
All right.
I just want to make a comment from the meeting last night. This gentleman, Mr. Heeg, went through all the correct channels, contacted Wood County Planning and Zoning, Jeff Brubaker. He worked with the Civil Corps of Engineers. Is that correct, Jeff? Was it the Civil Corps of Engineers he worked with?
Yes.
Okay, yes. So he worked with all the correct departments in order to ensure that he wasn't intruding on any of the wetlands for it. So he has several layers of blessings from everyone.
All right.
And I would also indicate that I have never seen an application so complete as that one. Yeah, all the steps that was taken and they were done correctly. Yeah, I attended the meeting last night also.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Number 13, consider impossible action on resolution 2021-7. Greg McDonald, conditional use permit for McDonald Trucking for maintenance on equipment located at 3921 Washington Street, parcel number Is it Q or no?
0700.
0700172A.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Arnie, second it. Any discussion?
I do, Mr. Chairman. So this parcel, looking back into the parcel file, it has had a number of conditional use permits granted to the parcel. I'm not sure if it was reviewed, and so Supervisor Lumby can clarify if it was, but in the past, there have been some recurring conditions, and so I'll review those with you for your consideration. I know it wasn't part of your motion, but it is to be considered, and I want to make sure that everybody's aware of conditions that have been placed on that property in the past. Number one, to screen screen any outdoor storage. Number two, that operations be conducted inside the building. And number three, that signs must comply with town ordinance.
Anybody else have any questions? Patty?
I was just going to say, I don't think that it would be a problem to the petitioners to have these three conditions, being that they're accustomed to having those conditions from prior conditional uses. Is that true?
I didn't hear the first one.
Sure. So number one is to screen any outdoor storage.
Oh, okay.
I know in the past it's been general. In another situation, I believe it actually was specifically with a fence, but the one that recurred seemed to just be to screen that outdoor storage in some way.
No problem.
And then two was the operations inside a building. Would that hinder your business at all?
No.
And number three, signage, which you probably won't do signage, but if there is a signage request, you would just work with the zoning administrator about signage at a later time.
Not a problem.
Okay.
I will amend my motion to include these three conditions.
Second the amendment.
Motion by Patty. So what's that, Mark?
You got to vote on the amendment for the motion first,
Okay.
and then
So we'll call for a vote on the, for the
On
amendment?
the amendment.
On the amendment? All in favor?
the...
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay,
Now you can...
now we can call for the motion as it was amended.
Okay. Okay, do you want me to repeat it, or are you
No.
fine? Okay, thank you.
You got it. Is there any more discussion on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right. Here we go, number 14. Now, hang on, we're gonna have, I just want to make sure we all understand the rules here, okay? This is a very, very, I want to say passionate subject, okay, on both sides. So I'm gonna ask everyone they can talk, please state your name and address for the record, okay? You got 2 minutes. It's not a discussion. We're not gonna debate back and forth or whatever. You can express what you want the town board to hear, and we're gonna move on. I am gonna limit it to 2 minutes, okay? So we are,
Total of 30.
yeah, we're gonna go a total of 30 minutes. Now, if we start hearing the same stuff over and over again, I'm gonna ask to talk about something maybe that somebody else hasn't brought up yet, but we're gonna just start. I'll just raise your hand if you wanna talk, and I'll call on you. The rest of us, please be considerate. All right. You wanna go first? Shirley? Yep.
I have a timer on it.
Oh, I've got it here.
Sorry.
Start over.
I would hope that the members of the town board would take into consideration the safety of our community, people using, riding bikes, walking, You know, I think it's imperative, kids on the streets, and for the safety, I would hope that the ordinance would stay the same, so that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. All right, I gotta stand up, sorry folks. Go ahead, over here.
Doug Johnson, 4630 76th Street South. I just want to say I spoke to every one of you board members personally, and I heard some, we don't want this, we don't want that, we don't want this, we don't want that. You have the power as the board to say, we will allow this, we're not going to allow that. Don't use that as an excuse because you don't want to see this happen. There's 34,000 miles of road routes in the state of Wisconsin with very little problems. We have mostly paved roads. They will be riding on the paved on the pavement. They will not be in the ditch. They will not be destroying private property. They are quiet. I wonder if some of you guys even know what ATVs and UTVs are, what they look like, what they sound like. They're a whole different thing than they were 10 years ago. They're quiet. They're like cars. It's been done in other neighboring communities. It can be done here. There can be compromises made. Stuff can be worked out between the board and the ATV club and the DNR. The DNR regulates these things. Headlights, taillights, width, weight, everything. There's no reason that this should not be taken under consideration by the board.
Thank you. All right, hold it. Okay, we're gonna stop that right now. Because we're gonna stop this public hearing if that continues, okay? Because there's both on both sides, so I'll just tell you that right now. You, sir.
Hi, I'm Jay Paff, 3710 71st Street South. I live just off of South Park, right across from the shelter house where they hold the water ski show. Personally, I have land in Grand County, or the town of Grand, Grand County, 3 miles from my house. I want to use my UTV, put the log splitter on the back end, buzz out to my woods, make firewood. For what I paid for my UTV, I'm not going to be risking it for any damage by horse, roughhousing with it or anything like that. As previously said, they're very quiet. There are lots of laws on the books regulating how fast we can go, things like that. The other thing I think that might be required is eliminate the ordinance and change it into a zoning regulation. Then exceptions can be granted. And if that's what we need to do is apply for exceptions, so be it. If there's accompany fees we need for get special permits, so be it. I just want to be able to get out to my land without having to trailer, so that I can do firewood processing and such, deer hunt. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Let's go over here.
Hi, I'm Ben P., 72nd Street North. First, I'd like to make a suggestion to the board that you look into a PA system so your participating public can hear what the hell you're saying up there. Second, I'm 100% in favor of the four-wheeler use in the town.
Thank you. All right, it's right in the middle in the back.
My name is Greg Lucas, 3041 50th Street South. I live about 2 blocks from Lake Wazeecha and 2 blocks from the gas station here. I lived here for about 20 years, and I think it's absolutely ridiculous that I gotta take my ATV, take my young daughter ice fishing. I've had to sit and listen to snowmobiles scrape their skis down my road for 20 years. And I think it's ridiculous that I can't take my quiet ATV down the road and take my young daughter ice fishing. I have to load it up on my trailer, load everything up, and take everything around to Darn Lake, and take everything off the trailer to take her ice fishing. I can't go 2 blocks down the road to go fill it up with gas, to go UTVing, to go to Tomahawk and everything else around the area to go riding my UTV and ATV. I think it's ridiculous what Grand Rapids is doing, and they can make so much money around here and everything else. You guys are losing the trail here. You're losing your brains. All the townships around here are wide open to it all. Everybody gets to enjoy it, going out for a meal and everything else. You're losing it. Thank you very much.
Yep. Okay, this gentleman here.
Travis Zelmer, 6120 Point Place. I do a lot of ATV and I obviously live in a town of Grand Rapids, and I feel trapped right here because everyone else around us is open. If other people would have had problems, they would have closed their routes down. Just the opposite is happening. They're expanding them. In other words, a lot of municipalities have had only a few roads open, and what they've realized over some time is that they haven't had the problems, and what they did is they expanded it for the whole thing. What I would hope the town of Grand Rapids does is open up all the roads right away, open them all up. For example, what I did Saturday, I organized a big ATV ride. 20 of us went to surrounding communities, and we each dropped a lot of money at a lot of businesses. I had to trailer my UTV to Saratoga, to a friend's house. I don't see a noise issue at all. Motorcycles are a lot louder than ATVs ever thought about being. There's speed limits, so if people are speeding, that's what we have cops for, to give them tickets. So I don't think noise or speeding should be any factors at all. I think Grand Rapids should do it for the people. We want it. I'm tired of rules. I'm tired of our freedoms being taken away. And why not do something so the people can have fun? And at the same time, the businesses here will get our business versus the other municipalities.
Anybody else? All right, start this.
So, like,
Name?
Debbie Davis, and I live in Brookhaven.
Okay.
And what he just said about, you have a trailer to go into the other communities. Most people in Grand Rapids, I think, just want to get out of the community. It's not like they're, and not saying that because there's others that are going to be coming in to the businesses, but a lot of us feel like you just, want to get out. It's not like there's going to be ATVs or UTVs flying up and down the roads, causing trouble. And just like he said, there's speed limits and, all that. So I think on the most part, everybody obeys that. So, that's kind of, I think, how a lot of people feel.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. You, sir.
Kind of feeding into what Steve and John were saying.
I'm sorry, name?
Name Jason Johnson, 6131 Helke Road. I live about halfway up to 80th Street, and I have to load two UTVs and my entire family up with 2 vehicles and go up to Wild Horse to hit the trailhead. I think it's ridiculous. The other thing is, I would love to frequent more of the businesses in Grand Rapids because we don't like taking long rides half the time. I have the trailer up to Wild Horse, and at that point, I go other places and I take my hard-earned money to other businesses out of the community. I would much rather do it in this municipality and keep the money in this town. I think Grand Rapids is doing a disservice to all their local businesses by not allowing the trails open. So, take that how you will.
Thank you. You, sir.
Hi, my name is Jay Parmenter, 3311 48th Street North. I have some personal experience with our cottage up in Rhinelander, Wisconsin. They just opened up the roads up there a few years ago, and it's fantastic. We can just drive from our driveway and go out to eat, take the grandkids for a ride, all this good stuff. I think Grand Rapids needs to get with the program, and otherwise you're going to hurt the businesses in this area. And a lot of these other people, said some great things too, so thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? You, sir.
Russ Helmuth, 2421 56th Street South. Going back to the original for the safety of walkers, bikers, there's rules, regulations for everything. Like say, that's why we have a police force. It'd be great to spend time in the place I grew up all my life. Like I say, I have to trailer everywhere I go. When I trailer somewhere, I stop there, I frequent that business. You spend a lot of time. Every time I fill up my machine, I pay road tax on it. I feel I should have every right to ride on a road. I don't have that right now. It would be nice to be able to take from my driveway and frequent businesses in the town.
Thank you.
Okay, Krista Storley, address is 4111 Couch Drive. It's my understanding that they're trying to link up the trails throughout the entire state, and it just kind of seems pointless to have everyone going around Grand Rapids rather than through, and you know, with the businesses and everything. And I think the speed limit is 35 for our machines, so it's not like they're tearing up and down the roads either. Most of the things are organized rides, and they're basically just putting.
Thank you. Anybody else? Go right there.
Jed Schutte, 2320 68th Street South. I went online and I looked at your guys' survey. Your survey says people want it. I think as a board, it's your job to find out how to do it correctly, and I think it's time that it needs to happen. We just want to go out for dinner in the evening. We're not here to race around. We just want to go to Kellner and have a fish fry. That's literally what all we want to do. Every time we go, we have a trailer, we have to head south. We have a trailer, we have to head south. Or we have to trailer it up north. I just see no reason, if we're respectful with it, that we can't just leave from our house. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. You, sir.
Scott Doherty, 5820 Deer Road. I agree with everything they're saying. I'm not going to say it all over again like you said, but I mean, a half a mile from my house, Saratoga's open. And it seems like all these trails from Grand, Saratoga, they all come here and then boom, they stop. We're like a choke point here. And I'm not saying, you know, of course I'd like all the roads open, but some type of system has to happen to connect these so that we can all go right.
Thank you.
Tammy Zelmer, 6120 Point Place. I just want to reiterate where we talked about the snowmobiles. I live in Wisconsin, but I am really not a cold weather girl. So I have no desire to go on the snowmobiles, but I love the ATV because we have some shelter and we can use it all year round. I just don't understand why there would be a difference of allowing snowmobiles and not allowing ATVs.
Okay, you're doing good. Thank you all for respect for you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Gil Layton, 2741 32nd Street South. I worked for DOT for 38 years doing design construction on our highway system. One of my technical duties during that time was representing DOT on the State Trails Committee. I can tell you without a doubt that when this came up at first, it was agreed upon that this type of use would be on rural townships. Most of those cases were unpaved roads where we've seen little conflict. The roads in the town of Grand Rapids have a lot of traffic on them. In many cases, our roads have more traffic than the state highways in this state. 32nd Street, I've looked at the traffic counts. That's more than a lot of our highways.
Really?
It is.
Hey, we're going to stop that right now.
I'm just trying to lay out, you know, from a technical standpoint, you look at the state regs on these things. Is the city of Rapids going to open up their streets to ATVs? I think not. Saratoga, town of Grant, you look at their populations, they're a lot less. Their streets don't carry as much traffic. So I think this is a bad idea. I can understand the people that are here that are looking for this and understand why they want it. But it's definitely a safety issue in the township. And I'll be happy to help the town board out with any questions.
Way in the back, I think we passed over. You good?
Eric Getzlaff, I own the poorhouse.
Okay.
I think, there's businesses in Grand Rapids that could benefit from this. And I know these are all good, responsible people. I know most of them, they're not gonna be tearing up the town. They just wanna be able to ride and be in their own neighborhood and just support the town that they live in.
Okay. Thank you. And then right between.
Travis, Ebert, 75th Street South. Napgezek just did this. They worked with Saratoga. They got the ATVs and UTVs across the bridge safely. There's no issues. Sean Wood, police chief, has had zero run-in with problems. It's a non-issue. As far as safety, everyone's following the laws. 135 miles per hour. If they want a hot dog, they got the trails down in the dirt and rolling.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
My name is Jeremy Plaza. I have a repair shop at 2521 Airport Avenue. So I guess I feel that, getting them on the roads would be a good thing. I do work on some now. If we simply have more around, it's going to help my business. And I think it'll help other businesses in Grand Rapids. I called one of the supervisors, Dale Winkler. He's with the town of Grant. I asked him if they were experiencing any problems since they did this, and he said no, it's been really good. I guess they had one person on the board that wasn't for it, so this person brought in someone from the DNR, UWSP that did some kind of survey or something, and Portage County Sheriff's Department. They came up with all the stuff that they thought could be possible problems. It did get passed anyhow, even though this one person didn't want it. In the end, he said we had none of those concerns that were brought up. So, he said that you can call and talk to them just for ideas, for stuff. So, I mean, if they can make it work, other communities can make it work, I would think we could too.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Any comment? Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for being, this went very smooth, being courteous, and that, so we appreciate it. All right, I'm going to close the public hearing comment to this. All right, and then we're going to move to number 14. What's that? We're on, yeah, so first I'm going to. Okay, so number 14 is consideration and possible action on reviewing town's ATV policy. Is there a motion? I'll make that motion to.
Mr. Chairman, I'd second.
And second by Chairman Arnie Nystrom. Okay, we're going to open it up for board discussion.
What's your motion?
The motion is to consider reviewing the town's ATV policy. And we will refer it to the legislative committee, which is where they'll have to put it through the review of the ordinance we currently have on hand and come up with an option of how they want to move forward. So I'm going to ask the town board members if they want to speak on this at this time. And we'll just, do we want to go around, or if anybody does, raise their hand.
So the motion was to discuss it and move
And
it on to
refer
legislative?
it, yep, the
Okay.
motion is to refer it to the legislative.
So the discussion should be around whether we move it or not. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it's a pretty narrow, would you agree, Mr. Flanagan, our attorney? That's a pretty narrow description of if discussion is on, it's only on whether we review it or not. Would that be correct?
Well, the motion is to refer it to legislative committee. What happens at legislative committee could frankly be amending the ordinance and a recommendation of that sort to the town board. It could be to do nothing. It could be to do something else, right? So, I mean, at this point, you're moving it to the body that considers amendments to the ordinance. That's your subcommittee to have that review and make recommendations to this board.
Because, okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. The fact is that this is an ordinance change, and that's what we do, is refer it to the legislative committee.
Yep.
If they meet, bring it back to the board, and be considered then when that's done.
Yep. So, yeah, so I'm just gonna explain this to you guys, just so you kind of understand. If I mess this up, please correct me, which I most likely will. So there is an ordinance out there right now on ATVs, okay?
Ordinance 59.
Yeah, ordinance 59. So what we have to do now is you gotta take it to the legislative committee, which is the town board and our attorney and that, and we gotta come up with a new plan. Okay, what's it gonna look like? What would a new ordinance look like? Do they want to change it first? If the board does, then how do they want to change it? Do they want to, what is it gonna look like? At that time then, the legislative committee will approve on any changes that they would like or how they would like this to look. From that point, it would go back to the town board to vote on that ordinance change. Once that ordinance change is in place, that's when the new ordinance would be in effect. Okay? So that's kind of the process. Did I hit that pretty close? Or? So that's what we have right now. Sir, we'll wait till your comments at the end because we're not taking comments at this time. All right, so we know what we got a motion and we got a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No opposed. So this action will move now to the legislative committee. Okay? All right. And again, thank you all for your consideration and being of others. All right, number 15, consider possible action on holding virtual town board meetings. Let's take just a 2-minute break while people clear out. What's that?
What is the timeline on something like that? I mean, does that mean it will come up at the next meeting, or does it mean it could take months and months?
I can tell you, it's a very thorough process review. When we had to look at, what was that called, Nick, the sexual?
Well, so we looked at whether we ought to create zones to our
That took 6 or 8 months because we had so much meetings.
When did you get it? Did you get your second one?
Another meeting, another.
Oh, just today? I just got mine about an hour ago.
The process does take. The process does take.
Moderna.
The fire department chief, talk to him right there. What's, you got a form for a sign?
Yes. Oh, absolutely here. Hopefully all these are done.
Yeah. I'm still indecisive. I mean, I'm all for vaccination.
Okay.
Oh,
we lost one. Did he have to go with the crowd out? Did they take him out?
Yeah, did they drag him out?
They drug him out.
They probably. So that's good. But I mean,
all right. Okay, we're back. I think we'll continue here with, we're on number 15. I'm gonna go back to that one again.
Yes, 15.
All right, number 15, consider possible action on holding virtual town board meetings.
Mr. Chairman, I think that's a good idea to be prepared to do it. Hopefully we'll never have to do it anymore, but I think we have the ability to procure some of this accessories that we need to do it through these COVID funds, and so I would recommend to the board that we consider looking at it and looking at determining what our costs would be.
Is that something, Marnie, that we would take to legislative to come up with on that, or would you just go ahead and do it at the board? No?
I don't think necessarily that isn't something that's going to be crouched in an ordinance, most likely.
It's not.
At best, it would be a policy, but more likely, it would just be some consensus with you all on holding virtual meetings or allowing for the same. I think the other pieces that come with it, of course, having the equipment to do it is one, but then also I would work with the clerk to make sure that we have something in place to notice. I mean, you have to have some conversation about, are you going to allow input from the public during virtual meetings, and how so? I mean, we've had Board of Zoning Appeals meetings virtually and received public comment on the same. I mean, it's certainly doable. We've done it. But you need to decide if you're going to receive comments and make sure you have that in place. Do we have a Zoom membership through the rest of the year? And are we going to use Zoom for doing those virtual meetings? Those things are also things to consider beyond just the equipment.
I think the virtual town board meetings would be beneficial under, the extreme circumstances that we've had. However, one of my concerns would be if a person would approve virtual town board meetings, I'd like to see something to the effect that if somebody moves to Florida, are they going to be able to have, let's say for 3 months they're in Florida. So are we going to be able to have town board meetings virtual so that person could be in Florida for 3 months? So I guess if we make a motion, I would like to see that it would be more under circumstances versus anytime someone would decide to have a virtual meeting, they could just go ahead and do that.
Totally agree, Patty.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have quite a few committees that I serve on, and organizations that have them virtually. And I know, serving in Washera County also, we had these snowbirds, and we found out through the law, you can't deny them the right to go to Florida and be on a call. I know we had a person on the board here in the town of Grand Rapids that went to Florida for the winter and was told that that person could not participate in a meeting, and that was wrong.
Okay.
So they're allowed to be?
Yes, we have them, and the Zoom meetings are, just take the Clean Green Action Committee. It costs $140 a year to have as many meetings as you want for as long as you want. You can have 30-minute meetings free in Zoom.
All right, so what we're hearing here is that
I think we need a policy first. Correct, Patty?
I would
think that.
I would think we'd have to.
And the county just has, I don't know if I send it to you or not, county just has a policy about how the public can join in.
Yeah, so that's an important part of it.
That's the important part.
Do you want a policy before you put together a proposal of the costs, or do you want a policy in place just if needed? That either way is fine.
I think the opinion of this board right now is to move forward.
Well,
move forward in that direction, not necessarily what it's going to be set to look like. So I think we could do a twofold. One, find out what the costs are going to be involved with this, along with putting together a policy, and then bring it back all in one package. Here's the policy, here's what we're looking at for cost, and vote on it at that time.
Thank you.
So we don't need no motion or
I
anything.
mean, the fire department, they have the Zoom meetings. Did they have to come before the board to say, let's have Zoom meetings and this is what's it gonna cost and that? I think we could just go ahead with it. What's the matter with just going ahead with it? Like the Zoom meetings you have?
without having a policy and everything else. Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
well, you need a policy for the public to be involved in it.
Right.
That's where you need the policy. And we've been working 3 months on that policy just on the county board.
Let's wait till we get here.
I was gonna
Use
say.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, why
The only other
recreate the
thing I
wheel?
got is we need to know where we're talking, whether we're talking $10,000 worth of equipment or $50,000. I believe Saratoga did theirs for 25,000.
Really?
So it's probably in that range, but I don't want to say that because dictating as to what room and how we can set this up, whether it's even gonna work well.
Right.
But we need to, I agree, we need to have it in case COVID comes back with a rampant.
Or the next one, or who knows, it's best to be prepared. So do we need any action on that then, or do we just?
What did the item say?
Said,
consider all possible action. Yeah, action would have to be taken.
I don't think you'd have to.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to. I mean, if you want something brought back at a future meeting,
yeah.
that it can just have no
Okay.
action.
Move it on.
We're gonna move on then. All right, number 16, consideration of possible action of trail extension license agreement with the city of Wisconsin Rapids for the use of the railroad right-of-way from 32nd Street to 48th Street. Amber, I'm throwing this at you. Is this something you?
Let me go first then.
All right.
I asked our attorney to be here to help explain everything that he's done on this project so that everybody knows what work he put in for us, so to make the application and checking whatever. Is there a recap you wanted to give to us?
Sure. So this item, as I understand it, was tabled at the last town board meeting. It also comes as a referral from the Economic Development Committee. I understand from watching the last meeting that there were some concerns regarding ownership or a right to convey at all the property by the city of Wisconsin Rapids. I apologize if that question was a concern with anybody and wasn't answered, but there was absolutely a review of ownership of that property. There's no question that the city of Wisconsin Rapids owns that property, and I do have the deed if anybody would like to go through the legal description to show that they do own it. I sent a summary of that to spare you the legal description. I sent a summary of that to Supervisor France, and so I believe you had all received that, but I certainly am happy to answer any questions regarding ownership. Just a reminder that what we're dealing with is a license agreement. It's a non-exclusive right to use that area. It doesn't commit us to using it. It's a first step in a process that likely will involve maybe grant applications or a review of cost of putting in, for example, that fence that would be required if we wanted to use it for a trail. But this would give us the right to use it if we meet the conditions under the agreement. So again, happy to answer any questions that anybody has. There's a couple.
Bill can go first.
So I'm concerned about the fence. We only have to do it on one side, because obviously the Lions Club has a fence. And that's why we only have to do it on one side. But, and who's requiring this is Water and Light, because that's their property, and they don't want people on it. Correct? And
Just to clarify, it's being recommended to the city by Water and Light. It's required by the city because it's the city's property.
yeah, right. Okay, so now look at how they've got this closed off on the other end of this. When you go down Lake Avenue, you can go in on that land. You know what I mean? There's no fence there. You know, so I don't understand why the fence, and we don't know how long the fence has to be. We don't know the cost of the fence, the height of the fence, or anything like that, or the maintenance of the fence. I just wish that was a little clearer, because if we're supposed to keep people off of that trail from coming in a different direction, I think that's their problem. Okay.
So, Chairman, do you, or, sorry, Arnie, do you?
Go ahead.
All right, so I would just add that certainly a legitimate concern, certainly something that still hasn't been, the details of which haven't been worked out. But if by chance it was reviewed with the city and determined that it was cost prohibitive or didn't make sense to what that fence ended up looking like or costing, there's an ability for either party just to part ways, and it didn't cost us anything other than, I believe it's $1. This doesn't commit us to put the fence in unless we want to use that for a walking, a silent sports trail or walking biking trail. The next step, as I would suspect, would be the Economic Development Committee working with the City of Wisconsin Rapids to determine specs to that fence, details of it, and of course bringing it to you all for a final determination, likely with some kind of a recommendation for if this is going to be grant funded or how that's going to be funded.
Okay.
I have 3 questions. First of all, talking about, this is one question I just came up with when you were talking about the fence. If we end up revoking the agreement, is that something that should be written in this agreement, that the fence becomes, the property of them, or if we're required to take it down, or we leave it as is? Just, that was one of my questions. I don't know if we had the answer for that. But then also on page 2, in number 3, when I was rereading this again, I thought about our UTV, emergency vehicle, and it says town motor vehicles use shall only be operated on the licensed area when necessary to accomplish a specific maintenance or repair project when pedestrians' access is not sufficient. So I didn't know if we should put in there something about an emergency vehicle, or would that cover that?
So, good question. And it's already placed in there that if we feel that there is another need for motor vehicle use, that we can just go to the city, get their consent. If they feel that it's outside of what's in this agreement, we can ask for their consent to do it. But I do think that as long as the use is for maintenance, repairs, those things are already built in here. If you're looking for an emergency vehicle that's going to use a motor vehicle, right, where pedestrian access is not sufficient, we can get that signed off. And it doesn't need to be in the agreement, I would just say. And I only say that because it's already been approved by the city.
Oh, it's already been.
It's gone through all their committees and their council, but that doesn't mean that if that's what we want, it's already built, the possibility is built into this agreement. We just go back to the city and say, we would also like to be able to use motor vehicle use in the event that emergency vehicles need access.
Right.
We just get their consent for it. That doesn't break this agreement at all.
And then I had one more question on number 3. In paragraph A, it says this agreement may be revoked by the city at any time. When I was reading this, it didn't actually say that the town could also revoke it at any time, or did I not catch that in the rest of this? It doesn't say anything about the town being able to if something doesn't work out right, but only the city has the privilege to do that.
Well, if we don't use it, if we just stop using it for hiking or biking trails, that's kind of our ceasing using it, right? And we take down the signs and just walk away. That's kind of walking away from the agreement. We lose the $1 and the agreement just kind of lapses.
Well,
so I guess help me understand what the concern is that the town would do anything other than just basically close it off for the use and just walk away.
I have no idea. I was just reading, and I just know how shalls and musts and everything else, as well as you know, that if it's not in there, black and white wins the war. So
I don't disagree. Right. The point I would make is that this is a license to use that right of way. If we decided that wasn't the right fit for the town, or that we didn't want to do it, we just take our signs down, we take the stuff down, and we.
Would we still have to maintain it then?
Is number 7 on page 3 answer that question?
Well, would be prior to termination of the agreement, but my point is just walk away from it.
Oh, okay.
And-
I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure that if we decide we don't want it, are we still responsible for maintaining it?
No, in fact, that's where number 7 comes into play.
Okay, that was my only concern. Thank you.
Okay,
Amber, got anything else?
I don't have any comments, no.
okay.
You're good.
So do we need a motion then? Yep. So I'll make a motion that we approve the trail extension licensing agreement.
I will second it.
And is any more discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No opposed.
And just before we leave this agenda item, if you would like, then I'll communicate this to the city attorney. I can also add in our request so we get that ball rolling for the emergency vehicles.
That would be good.
I can get that part of it rolling forward as well, just to make sure that we can know that we can use that in the event that we would need it. So I will communicate that and also ask for their consent so we can know that we can use that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, number 17, consider impossible action to Wood County 50/50 Road Aid Project. Okay, so
We give them 4,000, they give us 8,000 back. That's a good deal.
that is a good deal. So I guess,
We have to apply for it though.
yep, so I'm going to make a motion that we apply for the Wood County Highway 50/50 Road Program.
I'll second that.
Second by Bill. Is there any more discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Consider impossible action on bidding out purchase of gravel for road projects and stockpile. Okay, and I believe we do this
Pretty much our annual
every
request
year, don't we?
project is about 500 tons, or 250.
Yep.
Yeah, 250.
And up to 500 of another style.
So do we make a motion on this, Arnie, to
Yeah.
when we open them too?
Yeah.
You can
I'll make
just
it
do
full.
the
We make a motion to put it out to bid, and then Lisa will set the bid date and the acceptance date and when it's going to be open.
Okay. Bill, you made that motion?
Yes, I did.
Bill made the motion,
Second.
second by Amber. Any discussion?
What did you just say, Arnie? The
250
3/4 inch gravel plus the other style?
There's 250 tons, minimum 250 tons, and possibly up to, I'm sorry, I thought it was the 3/4 he was looking for too. So it's between 250 and up to 500 tons is what he's asked for. Yeah.
And it's only of...
The 100% 3/4, I thought he was asking for the subfiner, that was
Okay.
wrong.
Yep, thank you.
Apologize,
Okay.
I haven't been around much, you know.
Yeah. All right, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Number 19. Was organized. All right, number 19 is consider impossible action on the chairman's appointments. I think you all have them in your packets. I'll make a motion that we approve the chairman's appointments as presented. Second by Amber. Any discussion on these?
I would like to discuss that.
Okay.
I had asked to be on as an additional person on Personnel Committee, and I asked Chairman Nystrom if I could be a third person on it, and he indicated no. So one of my reasonings too, and I'm going to be voting no on this for that one reason. I'm also going to be voting no for it because of the fact, as you can see, people can get sick at any time. And I think one of the committees, as i.e. personnel, is a very important committee. I think the more people that are in that committee, if something would happen, if somebody is sick, the personnel issues, if there are any, can be resolved more promptly. I think also that it would be time, this is a good time with this board, being that we'll have 2 new members, and
What?
we have Icorn, and France has only been on here for one,
She's
you
not
know.
new. You're right, go ahead. I thought.
Fairly new people.
Thank you, now I agree.
And I think with the experience that we have on the board currently, I think it would be beneficial for all of us to learn more about this. And I think especially when we have the $700 and some odd $1,000 to be able to figure out how we best can spend it, I think the more heads put together is a good thing. The more the merrier as far as getting more ideas. I'd like to actually see a lot of these committees become committees of the whole board rather than just a few. Years ago, the committees, the town board did meet twice a year or twice a month to discuss, you know, things like we had tonight, and then they would set another meeting off to the side, or the second meeting, to be able to talk about things that, like we set aside the legislative meetings. So I'm voting no because of that, and I think having 3 people on a committee is a good thing. You, Chairman Nystrom, he appointed a 3rd person this time, or a 3rd board member to the Recycling, Solid Waste and Water. I welcome that because of the fact that I think we can do a lot better, a lot more work with more people and to get things moving along. So that's my take on it.
Go ahead.
My decision, Patty, was to keep the structure as it is. And as you're well aware, that any meeting any committee has can be attended by any board. You can be in any personnel meeting, any public works, recycling, so it's not that you're obligated out of it. It is the responsibility of these 2 groups of people, with the exception of the final one, which you just mentioned. I did that because I didn't think either one of you wanted to come off recycling and solid waste, and he is very concerned in water. So I thought it was very appropriate to add him to that. So that was just my reasoning for it. It's not a personnel issue, it's just my reasoning to do that. And these are my appointments. And
okay.
So for a vice chair, we're going to follow Chapter 60's rules and regulations. If the chairman is absent, we go to a vote. I see you do not have a vice chair. Listen.
No, you're correct, Bill, you're correct, because you had mentioned over the last 3 times that we did this that, well, that's not a legal position. You said I shouldn't be appointing a vice chair. So I said, okay, this time I won't. Well, you as the members that are here, if the chairman is not here, will then decide who runs the meeting.
So the most senior member would call the meeting to order.
Yes.
Do a roll call.
I know the rules.
Yeah.
Okay. My point is that it was legal because we approved it. We approved you having a vice chair. This is the first year you didn't have a vice chair. So we approved it. So it was legal because we approved it. If we didn't approve it, it wasn't.
Well, maybe I'll reconsider it, but I was totally going by what you had commented on every time, that it's not a position.
Yeah, I have asked legal counsel if it is illegal, and they said, no, it is not illegal.
Well, then you were wrong then.
Oh, yes, I was wrong.
Okay.
All in favor?
All right, anybody else? Amber, you got anything? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
I'm not opposed.
Two noes,
You're opposed.
3.
Yes, I am opposed.
Yep, 2 noes, 3 yeses. All right, number 20, is considering possible action on possible ad hoc committee to review new software package for the town. I'm going to make a motion that we table this for now and we get more information and work on how this is going to work out.
What I suggested is we talk to all departments.
We're having discussion on this.
I'm sorry.
There was a motion on the floor to table. Yeah, table till next month.
One second.
Second by Amber. Okay, discussion.
No discussion.
No, there's no
No,
discussion, we tabled it.
All right. Sorry. Made it to number 20. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
2 no. Okay. March disbursements? Vouchers? Anybody got any questions? None? Okay. We'll move on. Number. Noted, I passed it to Patty today. Don't hand it back to me. Number 22, operator license applications. Looks like we have 2 for 1 year. A Jessica Dulac and Donovan Latch. How do you pronounce it? Latch?
That's why I didn't make the motion, because I don't want to be.
Yeah, butcher them. Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion to approve.
Motion by Patty,
Thank you.
second by Amber. All in favor?
Aye.
No? No. Okay. We are going to monthly reports. Okay, monthly reports by committees. Public Works. I did talk to Rick today and I asked him for a written report and I did not get it. So, I don't think we have anything at this time.
I just want to know, when are we going to get the plan for public works and the roads? I always thought that we had it pretty much put together by now.
As soon as that committee is together and healthy.
There you go.
Okay,
There you go.
we're going to move across. Airport Commission.
All I can basically tell you about the Airport Commission is I did not have it at my hands is we completed the bid process for the new fuel system. The state has not given us the answers yet as to what the bids were, but it was anticipated to be about a $700 to $1,000 project, and which would be 80% paid by the state. We're also in the process with the BOA, which is the Border Aeronautics, and the Federal Air Traffic to correct the heights on some approaches to the airport. It's basically the north approach coming in. Trees have gotten higher than what's designated for them to be. So they're doing LiDAR screens of the area and looking at the properties that are there, which ones are needing to have things. And then the feds and the BOA decide if they have the funds to do the projects. And basically with paying people for rights to go on their property and either remove the over tall trees or trim them.
Okay. Any questions for?
I do. How long is the appointment of the, Tom Heiser is the one that does the height limitations, or, you know, he's on the airport. How long is he on that position?
Who? Tom Heiser?
Yeah, Tom Heiser is, you had appointed him last year.
No, that was border review.
Oh. Well, no, he had asked me last night at the Plan Commission about, he has that, with the height regulations.
Patty, I'm totally unaware of that.
Okay.
Bill, I never heard of it.
I didn't know what he was, but when we did it the last time, many years ago, and had to cut all those trees down, and who's gonna pay for them? I think we had somebody on that particular committee. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Not recall.
I do have one question, and I was just wondering, kind of on that same point, I know there was a pretty comprehensive topping of trees, and that's probably putting it lightly, maybe in 2016 or 2017.
Yeah.
Are these also, are these some of the same areas that they had?
It'd be the other runway.
Okay.
And it's just on the city properties, the city's homes are on their area.
Yes. Okay.
And there's a pretty significant height issue there.
Okay.
We're not meeting the standards by a long shot.
Okay.
And one other thing, oh no, we're past the airport. Never mind.
We're still on the airport.
Oh, you are? Hey, okay. Wait, you know, Arnie, I know you didn't feel good that day, but, you know, I certainly hope that the airport commission would look at the town of Rome for money and also the county.
Yeah, I can answer that, Bill. There's been a process in place already with one of the committee members that's on the Rome is also the board chairman at one of the banks in Nakusa. Him and Jeremy are planning to be at one of the meetings in the very near future. That's been in the works for a while, but it wasn't something that we could answer back and forth with. It was because it was in the comment period.
Okay. All right, moving on. Recycling, solid waste, and water.
It's still looking good that we're going to be having the third, we don't need it in the paper yet. We're going to see how things go. The recycling and solid waste will have our choose to reuse the third Saturday in September, which is September 18th or 16th. I forget.
How's the brush pile looking?
What?
How's the brush pile looking at the town?
Oh, well, it's looking good after Patty and I went over there and put up some signs and saying, don't you dare dump any. It's good. And then we called for door horse to make sure that they could.
Well, we worked with Door Horse.
Well, we're public. I mean, I can't help what people can do, but they can't dump grass clippings or anything like that. And there was a mess.
Should we look at getting some signs made up, some real big signs? Because this is not something that's going to go away, and we can use them at storms and whatever. I think we should have some pretty decent sized signs made up and just keep track. I thought we had them. I thought we had them when we...
because we're not recreating this wheel here.
Right.
We've done this before, and
Yeah,
I'm surprised we didn't
some
have
awful,
any.
They were just handwritten on cardboard or whatever.
I thought they were big metal.
They were not officially painted or anything.
Okay, maybe we could look into that. All right, Plan Commission?
Yes, we met last night. It's a wonderful group to work with. We had one fence permit, one kiosk, which you had seen this evening, the pond permit, which you saw this evening, the conditional use permit, which you saw this evening. We had a zoning, 3 dog exemption permits, a certified survey map approval. We had 2 garages, 1 carport, and 1 chicken permit, and also we reviewed the last element of the comprehensive plan, which I received a timetable, a timeline for us to be able to adopt the town board to adopt the comprehensive plan. And so what I'm going to do is I'll forward the email that I received from Adam DeCline from the Wood County planner from Wood County. And I'll forward that to you, Lisa, and then you can forward that timeline to the rest of the supervisors and chair, and so that they can see the proposed timeline, and then we can discuss it at our next board meeting. And then I guess that's it.
He has a question.
Patty, I have a question. I know that as we do with any comprehensive plan update, we adopted a public participation procedure.
Right.
I know that was also very frustrated with the pandemic, so there's no question about that. And I realize you have a timeline there. Could you just speak to the opportunities for public kind of dissemination of the information, participation? Because I'm sure that has shifted now a little bit from what we had hoped for when we first adopted that plan.
Yes, unfortunately, the COVID pandemic put a real crunch on our plan that we had originally discussed in the beginning. Of course, it has public notice requirements of a Class 1 public notice, which is required to be published at least 30 days prior to the hearing at the town board. We did discuss at the meeting a possibility of coinciding maybe a city, not a city, but a town get-together when at the same time as the fireman's picnic, to coincide with that. Again, this was the original timeline that the county planner had forwarded. That'll give us an idea of what we can do in order to get this adopted sooner than later, because we did send out the survey last March of 2020. So it does take a long time to adopt a comprehensive plan, but it's a little bit longer because of the COVID. So does that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
Okay. Public buildings, they're still standing, and they made it through winter pretty much unscathed without furnace or anything issues, and haven't heard of any issues yet. So as of now, so that's.
We got mice.
You got mice. You got Five-O's in the building. All right.
There was one request a while back ago that they wanted to have like an awning over the top of it'd be the south side of the building.
Yep.
So I don't know if that's on your agenda to discuss.
Put it on there, but I don't think we allocated any funds for it. I know we had talked about it at budget time, and I know it got nixed at that time, but you can take a look and see what it would cost. Legislative. Obviously, we're going to have one coming up.
We'll schedule a meeting, and at that point in time, we'll develop the process of what information we want to gather. I think would be the first step, probably.
Can I suggest one thing on it? You know, the fact is that, see, it was mentioned, I think the Plan Commission want to come up with this. It was mentioned that the survey indicated that people wanted this. You know what I mean? I think we have to read that into it. Did it or didn't it, or how did it?
Okay.
You are correct.
All right. Public safety.
We didn't have a meeting.
No. Economic development.
We didn't have a meeting, but the three items that we've talked about in the past, there's forward movement, so we will have a meeting to have more updates.
Personnel, we have not met. There's okay. WTA meeting.
It's this Friday, and you haven't gotten your cards yet, have you?
Nope.
No, we got it in time. I called. It's going to be at the town of Rudolph. It's going to be at 7 o'clock at night in the town of Rudolph. And they decided that they wanted an in-house one.
Oh.
And which I think is good. And who's going to be the guest speaker there? I don't know his name, but he lives in the town of Saratoga. He's the guy from the roads, and he's going to talk about blacktop.
Last month's meeting, Bill, held virtually. There was representatives there, representatives, and 7 towns called in. Pretty sad, pretty sad. That tells you one thing, Bill.
Yeah,
They're there for the food.
It says a lot of things about, the Towns Association and what's happening.
All right, we will move on to number 24, reports from individual town board members. We are gonna start with Bill.
Okay, no, I don't have it.
Amber?
I don't have anything.
Pat?
I received a lot of phone calls in regards to the ATV, UTV, quite a few for, and also quite a few for against. So
Yeah.
I think we all have, but I just want to let you know, this evening, we heard a lot of for and why we should, but in the same token, the people that were calling me, that were against the opening of the roads, they're elderly, and I don't think they would have shown anyways.
Okay.
No, thank you.
All right, you got anything?
No, just nothing, just I may or may not be available for the next couple of weeks yet. There's a lot of things going on.
Okay. And I guess same thing, I was really, I agree with Patty, I'm getting phone calls and I'm a short timer, you know, so there's definitely a passion out there for this ATV, and the best of luck to all of you on that. All right, public input. People wishing to address the board will be limited to 2 minutes each for a total of 16 minutes. Shirley?
Yeah, I brought up last month about the Budsmart and what was going on over here about the contamination. So, has anybody come up with something?
I sent an email to all the board members today with what the DNR representative.
I'm not a board member.
Yeah, but we can forward it to you. I don't think there's anything.
Or can we do it publicly so everybody has the camera and everything? As a group, did you need to read it?
There's no problem. We can read it, there's no problem.
I don't have it with me, but it was just
There
a,
was mention that there is
I can read
considered
it.
water, something in the water.
I can read it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna remove
Or,
my
is
mask.
that okay, Nick?
Yeah.
I didn't want to make sure. Okay.
No, I was
Go
going to
ahead.
pull it up myself, so.
Go ahead, Patty.
All right, good afternoon. I had a message from Lynn, and I is meaning Lisa. Received a message for Lynn Bradley and just heard back from her today. Here's what she told me as far as what's going on with Buds. If you have further questions, you'll need to contact her directly. She said she's more than happy to talk to you if you have other questions. An investigation has not been started yet, as they are still working with Scott Burrows, this is Bud's owner, insurance company. This was a routine testing done when a gas station is sold. I believe it was requested by the new owner. She said that there was no soil contamination found yet, only groundwater contamination, and they do not know the extent or degree of that yet. Within the next month, they will do drilling on site to see what the degree is. If there is any need to do drilling off site, once they determine the degree, they will contact those neighboring landowners. If it's determined that it's not confined to station's property only, she reiterated that the DNR will absolutely not close this out until it's determined to be safe for everyone. Again, I don't know what most of that means. So if you have any further questions, please contact her directly. Thank you, Lisa.
Okay.
You're welcome.
So I'm hoping that whatever that came through, either the Lisa or wherever that was sent or whatever, that's going to be continued the route that the DNR is probably going to communicate to.
Yeah, it does sound, Lisa, like they're continuing on with that, correct?
they're
Yeah.
continuing on. They're just.
DNR ain't gonna go away.
Yeah, she said they will not stop
They're not-
it if there's any concerns.
Yep. Anybody else? Gil?
Yeah, piggybacking on what Shirley said there, that is a little scary in this township because our groundwater tends to move towards the streams and also with the streams. So I'd say just about anybody to the south of the gas station here could potentially wind up with contaminated water. And I know when I was with DOT, we dealt with this on a lot of road projects through the PECFA fund. And yeah, it can move pretty fast in sandy soils. So we need to be aware of it. And the DNR will do a good job of it, I'm sure. They usually do. The other thing I wanted to mention is regarding item 14, the town's ATV policy. I'd be happy to work with the legislative committee on this, but I think you've got to take a bigger perspective here of, we got a meeting packed with 30, 40 people representing the ATV groups. What about all the other people out there in the township that aren't driving ATVs? Do they want these through their subdivisions and on their streets? I very much doubt it. I think if you do anything at all, I think it should go to a referendum.
Okay. Legislator has to look at it first.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. Future agenda items. Anybody have anything right now?
I do.
Patty?
I would like to, and I think this may have to go into closed session. However, it's regarding the agreement for building inspection services. I thought at one time there was something in the agreement for measurements, you know, to assist with measurements, you know, like setbacks and that. But I don't believe that's part of that, and I would just like to review that.
For agenda items, wasn't mentioned about a road ride?
About a what?
A road ride?
I don't think there was nothing mentioned
Well,
about
somebody, you and Patty were talking about something, and you said when we meet, we'll go over that.
No, he said when he becomes healthier, then he'll get together.
On a road ride or something?
We'll call a public a public works meeting. Anybody can attend that meeting, and if we want to do a walk or ride around, or if you want to look at 10 roads and take the knowledge that comes from the maintenance department as to which roads are bad, and then look at them. Ask Rick to look at what he thinks we need to do and where we need to do it. We know we got that other end of 72nd Street to finish up.
Can we put that on the agenda also?
Yeah.
I think a road ride is so important. I'm gonna go with 49th Street again. And 49th Street, it was recommended to do it, and I haven't heard one person say that we really needed that. So I think a road ride, we should go out and look at those roads ourselves, because we hear about them on the phone.
Okay, number 27, motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Patty? Amber, we are adjourned.